Hello everyone. Tonight we are working on Module 3, Lesson 10, and our goal is to add fractions with sums greater than 2. In other words, we'll be adding mixed numbers. We're going to start off by adding 2 1/5 plus 1 1/2. And I can see by looking at these numbers that my answer is going to be less than 4 because 2 plus 1 is 3 and 1/5 is less than a half, so when I add it to a half I will not have another whole number. I am going to think of fractions as, or these mixed numbers, as whole numbers plus fractions. In other words, I'm going to decompose them into their whole and fractional parts. So I've got 2 plus 1/5 plus 1 plus 1/2. I'm going to review the number line that we did Monday night and show you how this relates to the number line. And then for most of the problems we will just use numbers. So as I said earlier, I know that my answer is going to be less than 4, so I'm going to mark a 0 here and a 4 here, 2 in the middle, a 1 and a 3. So I have my wholes on the number line, and I'm going to add my whole parts first, 2 plus 1. So I'm going to start at 0, I'm going to show where 2 is, and I'm going to add another 1, and now I'm at 3, and I have 1/5 and 1/2 left to add to find my final answer. Now I know that from last night's lesson that the common denominator that I should be using is tenths, so I'm going to have to chop this whole up into 10 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10 tenths is at 4. So I'm going to add 1/5, which is going to be 2/10, and 1/2 will be 5/10, of course. So I'm going to count over 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I land at 7/10 for a final answer of 3 7/10. Now I'm going to add 2 1/5 plus 1 1/2, just using numbers the way we were practicing last night. I am still going to decompose into the whole parts and the fractional parts, so it's going to look like 2 plus 1/5 plus 1 plus 1/2. And then the associative property says I can move things around to make it convenient for me. So I'm going to put the whole numbers together, add them together first, 2 plus 1, and then I'll put the fractions together and add those together afterwards, 1/5 plus 1/2. When I add my whole numbers together, I get 3. And now I've got to find a common denominator, so I'm going to take 1/5, I'm going to multiply it by 2 over 2, because that is the denominator of my second fraction, and I'll take 1/2, and I'll multiply it by 5 over 5, because that was the denominator of my first fraction. So now I've got 3 plus, I left off a plus sign up there, 3 plus 2/5, which is equivalent to, 2/10, which is equivalent to 1/5, and I've got 5/10, which is equivalent to 1/2. And that is going to give me a final answer of 3 7/10. Okay, we're going to add 2 4/5 and 1 1/2. And when I'm looking at this one, I can see that 2 plus 1 is 3 right off the bat. And I also know that when I add 4/5 and 1/2, since 4/5 is over a half and 1/2 is a half, I'm going to have more than one whole when I add those two together. So my answer is going to be larger than 4. I'm going to go ahead and decompose my numbers and add the wholes together first, 2 plus 1, and then I'll add my fractions, 4/5 plus 1/2, and 2 plus 1, of course, is 3, and my common denominator, once again, will be 10, because I'm going to multiply 4/5 times 2 over 2, and I'm going to multiply 1/2 times 5 over 5, and that's going to give me 8/10, which is equivalent to 4/5, and 5/10, which is equivalent to 1/2. And so when I add that together, I get 3 plus 13/10. And again, I'm going to take this 13/10. It is a improper fraction, so I can't use that as my answer. 3 13/10 is not the way an answer should look. So I'm going to take 3 plus, I'm going to take out 10/10. I'm breaking that 13/10 into 10/10 plus 3/10. And then I'm going to add that 10/10 onto the 3, which is going to be 4. And then I'll have those 3/10 left over. 4 3/10 will be my answer. Okay, if you feel like reviewing or doing some extra practice after this lesson, you can go to IXL 4th grade, R.14. Unfortunately, they mix both addition and subtraction into this one section, but maybe you can skip the subtraction problems or try doing them and have a preview of what we'll be learning next. I'll see you in class tomorrow.